Rain dragged itself down the face of the city in long, electric threads. It wasn't a storm so much as a condition, like rust, like breathing. Every light smeared, every advertisement bled into the gutters, and the streets hissed as if they were full of snakes. A courier drone dipped low, breaking his line, so he shouldered it aside. It pinwheeled into a noodle cart, and a burst of steam roared into the air like a ghost. People cursed. Someone threw a cup. A bus snarled by. Kade threaded between its bumpers, and a line of bikers rolled in chrome and bad decisions. He wasn't thinking about them. He wasn't thinking about the weather or the sirens, or the sound of his own breath clawing up his throat. He was thinking about Mira. Her laugh. The way it climbed the scale, bright and reckless, like it could outrun gravity. The way she could talk circles around a debt broker, then talk Kade into believing tomorrow would be better, even if tonight stank of chemical rain and false promises. He saw her eyes, lit from within, stubborn against the dark. He saw her mouth shape his name. He heard her say, "Help." The city knew that word. It licked its lips when it heard it. Kade cut left down an alley that had never seen sunlight. The pavement was a patchwork of old scabs and new oil. Halfway down, a flickering sign broke the dark. Ink Mectato augments and cover-ups. The letters buzzed in sickly blue, and a suspended neon lotus pulsed, opening and closing in time with Kade's lungs. He hugged the wall and slid past the parlor's side door to the wide metal bay of the warehouse next to it. He'd been here once. Delivery job. No questions asked. Nobody honest rented next to InkMech. The bay door had a human-sized inset and a keypad that had been beaten more often than it had been typed on. Kade didn't bother with the keypad. He hit the handle with his shoulder. Rust gave way with a crack like a rib. Inside, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. The world became metal on metal, the kind of silence that's really full of humming. There was a smell of old oil, cold rain, dust too heavy to float. His eyes adjusted and the space developed out of the dark. The guts of a distribution hub, conveyor belts quiet as dead snakes, stacked crates with stenciled warnings nobody obeyed, catwalks sewn across the ceiling like scars. Two men stood in the open space between Kade and the corridor door. They had the posture of people who were paid to hurt strangers. Not uniforms, black jeans, utility jackets. One had a stun baton. The other had that lazy, dangerous stillness that probably hid a knife. They looked at Kade like he'd performed a magic trick they didn't find funny. "Wrong door," Baton said. The first syllable bored. The second all teeth. Kade didn't answer. The words felt too heavy. He adjusted his stance. His fingers flexed once, as if asking bone for permission. Then he moved. Baton stepped in with a downward arc that sizzled blue. Kade didn't try to catch it. He let it miss, pivoted, and slammed his palm upward at the man's chin. Bone met bone. Baton's head snapped back. The arc drifted wide. Kade grabbed the man's forearm with both hands and yanked, using Baton's mass the way gravity would, twisting and dropping his hip to roll him hard onto the concrete. The baton skittered away, buzzing like a trapped wasp. The still one came alive. Just as Kade expected, a black wedge that drank light. He cut in across, meant to open Kade from belt to shoulder. Kade stepped into the cut, crowding him so the blade had nowhere to travel. The edge kissed his jacket, bit through it, nicked skin. Heat flared sharp along his ribs. He didn't flinch. He hooked the man's knife wrist, hammered his right fist into the man's nose. Cartilage crunched, blood sprayed. Kade stomped down on the man's elbow. Something broke. Baton was scrambling up, reaching for his weapon. Kade scooped the baton with his foot and sent it spinning into the dark. He picked up the knife instead. His hand looked different with a blade in it. Smaller. Meaner. "Where is she?" he asked, and his voice sounded like it had clawed itself up from somewhere, with no light. Baton spit pink on the floor, tried to grin without moving his jaw. "You're late." Kade moved the knife to cut an answer out of him. But a humming rose through the warehouse, a deeper note, and a door at the far end of the space yawned open. The corridor beyond was a throat lit by dying fluorescence. Kade didn't have time for questions. He shoved Baton's head into the concrete and ran. The corridor swallowed sound. It ate the echo of his footsteps and fed them back wrong, delayed, as if someone else ran behind him just out of sight. The walls sweated. Water dripped from a seam and tapped out a surgical rhythm. He kept moving, right, left, through a short loading bay and into a wider spine lined with more doors. Some held offices with cracked glass. Some held equipment piled like burial mounds. The second pair came at him from a room with a forklift parked like a sleeping animal. One had chrome irises that reflected Kade back at himself, small and frantic. The other had a blade fused to his wrist, grafted dead. Chrome went low to sweep Kade's legs. Kade hopped the sweep, drove a knee into Chrome's temple, felt a satisfying give of meat. Wristblade lunged in a straight thrust, like a man who liked to finish things quickly. Kade twisted, the air shuddered where his belly had been. He grabbed Wristblade's sleeve, yanked him forward into a throw and discovered the boots were magnet-locked. Kade's momentum crashed him into a wall. Wristblade's elbow buried itself in his kidney with the contempt of a butcher. Pain whitewashed his vision. He fell, hooked his foot around Wristblade's ankle, and twisted. Magnets can't argue with physics. The ankle turned too far. The magnetic hold broke. Wristblade fell, skull cracking concrete. Kade slammed the man's blade arm against the floor twice. The second hit silenced it. Chrome was up fast, predictive. Those eyes tracked Kade's balance before Kade found it himself. A jab hit his cheek. Another scraped his mouth. Chrome smiled. He looped an arm for a choke. Kade bit his bicep. Chrome made a noise like tearing metal and yanked back. Kade slammed his forehead into Chrome's nose once, twice. The second broke it. Chrome reeled, hands to his face. Kade laid him down like a problem solved too late. He stood over them, chest heaving, counted to 3. In, out. In again. The world steadied. Dripping resumed its fussy little metronome. He dragged his sleeve across his mouth and saw red. He looked at it, surprised anyone still bled that color. He moved. 3 more doors. A storage closet with fertilizer and fake grass. An office with a calendar 9 years old. A room with a metal chair bolted to the floor, and an electrical panel scarred with worry. Then the hallway bent hard, right, and there it was. The door he remembered. Heavy, deliberate, paint thick as enamel. Someone had drawn a skull in the corner with a bad attitude. The skull smiled like it knew the ending. He didn't kick this one. He lifted the handle and went in like he belonged. The room was a box. No windows. No clutter. A single light burned overhead. The kind that makes everything look less alive. In the middle of the room was a chair. A woman was tied to it. Her hair was matted, her clothes torn. Her face was turned away, but Kade knew every line. "Mira," he said. His voice fractured. She flinched, turned. Those eyes, that mouth. Something inside him broke and burned at once. Relief shook him hard enough to make him stumble. "Late," someone said. Kade didn't need to see the speaker to know who it was. The voice carried a grin sharpened thin as a blade. Lieutenant Voss stood behind her, hands loose, carved and thawed. Badge gleaming for irony. He wore regulation hair and an unregulated smile. "Traffic," Kade said. "Let her go." Voss raised a palm. "Debt before mercy. House rules. This isn't your house." Voss circled Mira like she was merchandise. You owe real people real money. You owe a kingpin who doesn't like lateness. You owe for every dose you moved and every dose you took when you were supposed to move it. Take it out of me, Kade said. She's got nothing to do with this. Voss laughed softly. Everything's connected. She loved you. That's the most expensive mistake a person can make in this city. Mira's voice was raw. Kade, don't. I've got you, he said. You've got nothing, Voss said. You had a path. You wanted the fast burn. Now the line wants you back. He drew a revolver, old world. Oiled, inherited. Not sleek. Not new. A relic that meant business. He let it rest against his thigh, muzzle down. He watched Kade like a menu. Kade's hands rose, empty. He felt his heartbeat in his fingertips. Tell your boss I'll pay, he said. I'll find it. I'll sell everything I've got left. You already did, Voss said. Why do you think she's in the chair? You made promises, Kade? Voss said. Promises are dead. With makeup on. Kade moved. Instinct took over. He lunged for the gun, twisting Voss's wrist, stepping in to rob him of space. Voss let the wrist turn, then slammed his forearm across Kade's throat, walking him backward into the wall. The gun went off. The sound was knives in a small room. Plaster burst above Mira's head. See? Voss said, close enough for Kade to smell mint and metal. You mistake movement for change. Kade bucked against the arm, buried his knee in Voss's thigh. Voss flinched. Kade slipped free, through a hook. The revolver wobbled. Voss smashed it into Kade's face. Vision splintered. Mira cried out. Voss studied Kade through red teeth. You always think you're one punch from a different life. Funny thing, your aim never improves. Kade swung wild. It landed. Voss drove the butt into his ribs. Pain sang. He rolled, came up, slammed into Voss's hips. They hit Mira's chair. It scraped but held. For the first time, Voss stumbled. Kade climbed him, locked an arm around his throat. Voss rammed them both into the wall. Once, twice. The choke loosened. Voss's elbow found Kade's skull. Light flashed. The revolver clanged to the floor. Voss's hand stayed near it. You want to be a savior, he said. You think if you bleed enough, you pay for all the days you hid. Shut up, Kade rasped. Try talking with fewer teeth. He feinted, then didn't. Drove through Voss's guard. They hit the table. The gun fell, bounced, skidded toward Mira. She looked at it, then at Kade. Voss moved first. He always had. They stopped thinking. It was elbows and knees and teeth. The fight turned primal, wet, ugly. Kade hammered Voss's kidney. Voss hit his ribs, found the knife wound, twisted pain into him. See? Voss panted. You're made of openings. Keep talking, Kade said. It helps me find your mouth. He hit him again. Blood on teeth. Voss smiled, then punched Kade twice, fast and precise. Kade fell to one knee. Voss's shadow loomed. Debts are due, he said, gun in hand again. You don't get to choose when. They choose you. Then shoot me, Kade said. Voss didn't. He offered the gun. You want to save her? Kill me. Earn something. Kade stood, slow. Mira's eyes weren't pleading, they were steady. Kade moved sideways, under the muzzle, snapped his arm up, deflected. The gun jumped. Kade caught it. Voss grabbed for his throat. Everything you've ruined, Voss hissed. Every morning spent searching for the last pill you made her pay for it. Kade pressed the muzzle to Voss's chest. Surprise flickered, then sympathy. He pulled the trigger. The sound was clean. Boss stopped, sat down like someone had unplugged him. The badge on his belt gleamed like a forgotten coin. Kade didn't feel victorious. He felt rewired. He cut Mira loose. His hands fumbled, unfit for kindness. "I've got you," he said. She leaned into his touch. For a second, the world exhaled. "Kade," she said softly. "What?" "Wake up." The word bent the room. The light flickered. The walls breathed. Tattooed lotus petals bled through the paint. The floor rippled. The ceiling blinked an eye. He grabbed her shoulder and his hand passed through her. The warehouse dimmed, then flared. The lotus pulsed. Open. Close. Open. He woke gasping on his couch. The room was dim. The couch groaned. Neon leaked through the window, red, blue, red. On the coffee table, crushed pills, a cracked injector, a paper packet stamped Reverie. His hand shook. He pressed his palms to his eyes until colors bloomed. Outside, the city murmured. Sirens, laughter, machines that never slept. He tried to remember the warehouse, Mira, the gun. Found only chalk and regret. He stared at the packet. Reverie, half dream, half stimulant, half lie. It made promises better than he ever could. It kept them until it kept you instead. He'd told himself he was done. He'd meant it 40 times. He had told Mira once he could do a day without it. He'd made it 19 hours and 31 minutes. Then he'd apologized to the floor. The next morning, he bought another packet. He turned it over. The seal had been broken and resealed twice. His hands looked older than he was. He thought of Mira's laugh, the way it had climbed, the way it had stopped. He stood, crossed to the window. The lotus outside pulsed in the puddles. A boy with a courier bag ran through the light and laughed. Kade watched until he vanished. He sat again, hands on thighs, to stop them reaching on their own. Reverie had taken the city like ivy, quiet at first, then everywhere. You saw it in the eyes of kids, the slow walk of cops, the dark windows that never shut. Kade was hooked. That was the truth. He thought of Mira, of the porch she wanted, of the laugh that fought gravity. He reached for the packet, stopped, pulled back. He thought, tomorrow can be different. He thought, I should call her. He thought, not like this. He thought, just enough to quiet the noise. He thought, that's how it starts. He saw the futures, the soft one, the drugs sold, the hard one without it. He drank from the chipped glass. It tasted like metal and not enough. The packet waited. He reached, stopped, buried his face in his hands. Outside, the lotus opened and closed. Someone laughed. Tires hissed. A siren didn't hurry. He lifted his head, whispered, I'm trying. The word sat small between him and the packet. It didn't change the city. It didn't make the night kind. But it stayed. The lotus kept opening and closing. The city breathed. The night waited. Like the video and subscribe to Fantasci-Rhino for more stories like this. Thank you for listening to the end.